We're actually in a lockdown and a lockdown and a lockdown. It's lockdownception over here. What's up, everyone? It's your favorite blind chick back on your screen with another one. This is another episode of This Week in the World where I do a little commentary with you. So let's just chill out, grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's chit chat. I was really hoping that this week we'd have something positive to talk about, but I haven't found it yet. I was looking up until the point where I clicked record for something, just something light to start with, and crickets. So we're going to dive right in. Same as last week, we're going to do a little bit of pop culture, then we're going to move on to world news and wrap up with what's going on in the 6, which is the city I live in. So starting off with pop culture, right? The only thing that I think is really notable is the T.I. and Tiny situation. Forgive me, I'm going to have to use a lot of words in lieu of the words because YouTube be on it and doesn't want us to really talk about things. So in order to talk about things, I need to get creative with it. And this situation is a mess. Like when I think of T.I. and Tiny, they're like Atlanta Dynasty. They're supposed to be, but I mean, it's going to be a whole court case. We can make our decisions when everything is said and done. I just pray that the women that have been affected get to tell their truth and find peace. That is all my wish goes for the situation at large. But what I want to talk about today is more about the agenda. Anytime I see something on social, I just like to take it another level. And like I said last week, this is not as much about spilling the tea as so much as distilling it, which when I think about it, doesn't really make sense because we don't distill tea. With this situation, I look at it in a different kind of way. I see it as another step in an agenda because growing up, I remember, this is such a weird story, but my great-grandma loved Maury on top of Judge Judy and Joe Mathis and pretty much anything that came on at 11 in the afternoon or morning. You know what I'm trying to say. She was obsessed with these types of shows and she'd always give me cautionary tales. Like between 12 and 16, great-grandma was teaching me through Maury, okay? I remember one time I was having tea with her and she started saying, oh, I was watching Maury the other day and this girl was saying she likes to do this thing. Have you heard of it? I'm like, what are you talking about, great-grandma? What? Put what in my mouth? He used that to pee with. I'm like, oh my gosh, great-grandma, we're not having this conversation right now. Like, let me just have my tea and porridge, okay? Typical Caribbean great-grandmother. I remember back then that was like the thing. Now we shift to this whole throat baby vibe where everyone is just about the lifestyle. And hey, if you like it, I love it. I'm not here to judge. I think we all come here for a different path and purpose. So if yours is about liberation, go for it, girl, go for it, guy. I'm just saying I find it very interesting that back then that was what was shocking. The shock value of talking about pretty much what you do in the bedroom was just so jarring for her. And for me, it was kind of like, I've heard about this before, great-grandma, but like, I don't want to talk about it with you. And then as time went on and I entered high school and uni too, of course, the conversations evolved with my friends about what was going on in the world. And now I've noticed in the last 3 or 4 years that everyone's about the triangle. I'm going to call it a triangle because I don't know what words will censor me. So I'm sure you can catch my drift. And of course, as it relates to teen and tiny, a triangle is 3. Okay, so I just find it very interesting because I've been listening to a lot of pods lately. What's new? And one of the pods, there's this one girl for absolutely no reason at all. Well, maybe reasons for herself. In every single part of the conversation, she just casually drops that she likes triangles. And I'm like, okay, cool. The first 500 times, I get it. You like triangles. You're really here for it. It's the best thing since sliced bread. Cool. But the more I've listened, the more I'm just like, this doesn't even apply to the conversation. You're kind of just selling it now at this point, which again, like I said, if you like it, I love it. I don't care what you do in the bed. It doesn't involve me, so what do I care? But I just found it very interesting because it was like not even 10 years ago that you would never really hear anyone talking about it. You knew people did it. We've had places in Toronto that you'd go by on the subway or in a car and you knew that was a spot where people went to triangle. And it's so funny calling it triangle, but whatever. And it's just so interesting now, the shift of just making things more overt. It's always interesting to me. And I just, it's almost like with that type of lifestyle, it's always pushing the envelope. It's like, what's next? So I'm very interested because I'm always forward thinking. I try to stay present, but my brain likes to go to the future a lot. So I'm thinking like, how is this going to translate in 5-10 years? Like, what are we going to be talking about or shocked about then? Because if this is pushing the envelope now, and this is what's trending, because everyone's talking about triangles, everyone's talking about unicorns, everyone's talking about their experiences, what is it going to be in 10 years? I'm asking for a friend. With this whole situation, I'm just like, wow, the pop culture, the music, the movies, media at large, social media, everyone is talking about triangles. And it's just like, it's becoming very normalized, which again, I'm not for or against. It's just an observation I'm making. I want to know what your thoughts are on that. Okay, next case. Well, 2 cases, and they're both very, very depressing. The first is Daunte Wright. The first thing I will say is that it is very upsetting that this has been, a year after another huge situation in the Twin Cities. And not only that, it's happening on the feet of a trial for a very similar situation. It's just like, when is this going to end? Anytime I see something like this, it just makes me hurt for humanity, because it just shows you time and time again the mind frame a lot of people are in. The people that are rationalizing what happened, the people that are saying, oh, well, this cop, and it's just like, I get it. We all have opinions. Clearly, I have one too, because I'm talking with you. But I think we need to look at the bigger picture. This is another person's lives lost. When is it going to end? Is it going to be in 2 weeks that we hear this story again? In 2 months? Next year? Like, it's going to happen again until we all shift our mindset, and we have to change the system. This is not a one-off situation. This is happening way too often, that we need to truly look at ourselves and the way we structured our society, because that's what's been enabling this to happen. I don't see these discussions being had often enough and the shift happening fast enough. It's just, enough is enough. So I'm very sad about that. And then a couple days later, when I heard about the South Carolina GI Joe dude, I think his name is Johnathan, GI Johnathan. Like, dude, what are you doing? I don't understand, but I understand. And the only reason why I understand is I watched a documentary which you need to watch. It's called Exterminate All The Brutes. And when I watched that documentary, I was just like, wow, this is a crash course in colonization. Firstly, it was so fast paced. I felt like I was in a intensive course. I was just like learning about so many things, and I was writing down what I needed to go back and research on my own time, because they spent like 5 minutes on the Haitian Revolution. I'm like, nah, run me back that. I need to learn more about that. And then I started talking to my cousin who lives in Georgia. Hey, Dwayna, if you're watching. And she was like, yeah, I know about the Berlin Conference. I think that's what she said it was called. I had no idea that before slavery was a thing, that these people came in and they just basically sliced up Africa, and they're like, you get a resource, you get a resource, you get a resource, like Oprah, just giving out all of these things that never belonged to them in the first place. And aside from the history from the Black perspective, the way they treated the natives and the Japanese and basically any minority, it's just crazy. But at the end of the documentary, it wasn't so much an us against them. Like, I don't have hatred in my heart. I don't feel like, I don't know. It's education for me. It's me to learn and understand why things are still happening the way they are today. And I hope anyone that watches that takes away that too. You can be outraged, and hopefully that outrage empowers you to enact change. But if you're outraged for outrage's sake, what does that do for anyone, right? So we'll talk about that documentary a little bit more, but let me just wrap up with this Daunte Wright situation and the Johnathan Pentland situation. In both circumstances, it really does perpetuate what's been going on in the States forever now. Like, a lot of times when people say, make America great again, they're thinking of a past time where in order for them to be at the top, someone else has to be at the bottom, because that's just how life works. That's how hierarchies and classism works. But it's just disturbing that instead of wanting to go forward towards equality, towards, the American dream as it is, they want to go back to a time where people were clearly oppressed. And it's a lot to take in, that people want to see themselves as evolved and educated and empowered, but they're very quick to want to defend and protect ideologies and mindsets that obviously disadvantage other people. So it's food for thought. I think a lot of times we have these discussions and people don't want to think about themselves as the captors or the victors if the victors did something wrong. But I think sometimes you have to look at yourself. And I do this in my personal life all the time. I'll look at myself in a scenario and be like, what did I do wrong in this situation? And how can I grow so that I can go forward and not make that mistake again, or not have the same circumstance come up again? I think a lot of people need to have an honest moment with themselves. But again, I'm not here to lecture anyone. It's just food for thought. Yeah, I was really, really sad about that, because it just really showed you who's the American dream for. Because if you're going to question why this boy is on this street, that means in your mind, he doesn't deserve to live on the same street as you. And there's a whole many other things about what's going on in the States right now that I don't have the energy to talk about. But I love seeing both sides. Personally, I love seeing the opposing ideals, which is why I always say comment if you disagree, because I love to hear why people feel the way they do, because it gives me a sense of understanding. Let's talk about the documentary some more, because I was shook. Like I said, the Haitian Revolution was probably about 5 minutes in a 4-part series, and I was like, that alone could be a 4-part series. So I definitely need to do some more research on that, because I thought that was so interesting, very intriguing. I love learning, so that's my jam. And then there was also a couple other things that I was just like shocked about with what's going on with the Native Americans, how they named a lot of their war machinery and types of things they did during war after things with the natives. And it's just the idea that Christopher Columbus discovered anything. It's like the accreditation he gave himself. It's just old world, okay? We knew, and now we know better, right? So we just got to move past that, because obviously what's happening today is it's just so evident that what was happening then is still seeping into today in so many ways. It's very, very disturbing, to say the least. I think the trippiest thing about the documentary was when they were saying that the church was pretty much the one that said, and I'm a Christian, by the way, so I was kind of like, why you gotta use Jesus? Jesus didn't want no parts of this. But the church was basically saying that the natives were savages, so they deserve to be treated a little better than the blacks, who were beasts. So they were below humans, or whatever the hierarchy they chose. It was so weird to me. It's like, who sat there and thought up of this and then thought it was okay and then perpetuated it to millions of other people? They even discussed the Holocaust, which I hope that word doesn't get doxxed. I think we should talk about that more. I think we shouldn't neglect or deny the past that we've had, because that's something that's affected each and every one of us, whether we're Jewish, we're black, we're native, we're Japanese. It's all a part of our history. And it's all very disturbing how quickly we could resort to that, you know? I wish we moved further away from that than we have, but let's see. Hopefully in this lifetime I get to see more equality. Enough about Exterminate All Brutes, because I could talk about that all day. Yo, I should probably do a separate video just on that, because that documentary had me clicking so many other YouTube videos after, just trying to soak up everything. I felt like I was in school again. This is still kind of world news, American news, but kind of pop cultures too. Apparently, the head honcho of Black Lives Matter be buying houses. How has this chick got 4 homes? Like, the only person that should have 4 homes is Drake, or a celebrity of that caliber. You know, someone who's traveling and wants to stay in their own place when they're outside of their main house or whatever. But everyone else, I don't really understand the 2 home thing, unless, I don't know. I mean, it'd be fine if it didn't involve other people's money. Of course, it's allegedly, so we can't really say much right now, but it's still sketchy AF. Like, gotta call a spade a spade. This just makes everyone look bad. This doesn't make black people look bad. This makes everyone look bad. Because it's always people in a position of power that tend to use it and contort it for themselves. This is not the first time. It probably won't be the last time. It's just really sad that it keeps happening time after time, you know? We discussed a little bit of pop culture, a lot of world news. Let's bring it back to home. I live in Toronto, for a lot of you that don't know, and we've been going through a whole lot of mess over here. I don't know what the city is really trying to do for it. I'm talking to you. What is going on? Do you need some help, sir? I'm just so confused as to why they're taking measures now that they should have done a year ago. Like giving out tickets for people not going out for essential things. Yeah, that should have probably been done a year ago. And at the same time, there's like weird restrictions. So it's like, yeah, you're not supposed to go out for just any reason, but you can go out for walks. And you can still pick up non-essential things, but we're going to enact a curfew. And this lockdown is more serious to the point where I'm going to be working from home all the time, because I used to go in the office 2 days a week. If you watch the vlogs, you already know. But Now it's just like, no, we're just going to keep you at home until we absolutely need you to go in for X, Y, and Z. And I just, I'm starting to get at my wit's end, which is saying a lot because I've held it together for 14 months, which, all things considered, I'm grateful that I've been losing my vision because it's given me strength in a lot of areas that I might not have had otherwise. I can't wait till I do the stages of Stargardt's video so you can see the parallels between losing vision and losing your mind during a pandemic, because it's very, very similar. So I'm sitting here with you guys and I'm just like, what is my government doing? Like, one of my friends put it perfectly. She said that it's not so much about saving lives, but it's more about lessening the strain on the healthcare system, because they don't want to be overflooded in ICU and really have to choose between person A and person B. I get that. I also think it's a lot of politics. Let's just call a spade, because at the end of the day, you're really picking and choosing who gets to live a certain kind of lifestyle. There's still people flying to the Caribbeans or to the States to go on vacations. How is that not considered when you're trying to make things stricter for everyone that's staying in place? I know friends who literally not left their place since last March. I don't know how they did it, because I need to go on my walks every day, but I know people who literally the only place they might go is to get their mail downstairs if the person doesn't come up, or their takeout. But they order their groceries, they work remotely. I guess they work out in their unit too. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And it's just like, there's the people who are so strict and following the rules to the T. And then there's the people like me who are trying to live their life as best as possible. And then there's a third camp who can afford to go on a vacation or drive up north to get their nails done or get a haircut, which I'm not judging, because these people need to live. You're supporting a salon owner or an esthetician. And during these times, how are these people supposed to thrive and feed their kids and their family and themselves? So I'm not here to judge. Get it how you live it. I just think it's very strange how the government is doing things. And it's funny when my cousins in Antigua send me voice notes and they're like, so I hear you're in a lockdown. I'm like, yeah. We're actually in a lockdown. It's lockdownception over here. It doesn't even make sense. And I don't know what they expect to change in 30 days, because I was like the foolish little kid that believed my parents when it's like, are we almost there yet? Yeah. That's what they did at the beginning of this pandemic. They said it was 2 weeks. And I was the only person that I know that actually believed them. I'm like, okay, in 2 weeks, I'm going to do a lot of YouTube videos and then I'll be back at work. 6 months later, I went back to work. So it's just like, they said 1 month ago, 2 months ago, and they're saying 1 month now. And it's just like, So apparently the biggest change, the thing that most of my friends are frustrated about, is that if you get stopped and you don't have a reason for being outside, you will get ticketed and fined. I don't know how much the fine is, but I just think it's very interesting that this is what they're enforcing now. I said it last week, I think. Maybe I might have edited it out, but I think the best solution would be to close for 60 days. Everything, says the girl who can't stay in her house. But if you honestly closed and said literally all you can do is the most is go for walks for yourself with your pet and to the grocery store, and that's that on that, then maybe that would help eradicate things. But allowing people to travel to certain parts of the planet but not allowing them to travel to other countries, or saying you can go and pick up stuff from Sephora curbside but you can't meet your two friends at the park and go for a walk. It just make it make sense. Just please make it make sense. Make it make sense. And I know I don't want this to come off as insensitive, because I know a lot of people are very polarized on this topic. So correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm like going way left and just off the ledge with this. But there's going to be even more lives lost from the ramifications, the effects of what's going on right now, than the actual Rona. Now, I'm not saying I want people to pass away from Rona, because I wouldn't wish it on anyone. The only reason why I would get a vaccine, like I said last week, is to prevent me being a carrier to give it to somebody else. I couldn't live with myself if that was the case, right? But with all that said, the way things are being handled is going to really mess with people long term, and there's not enough people speaking out about that. And I don't know. At this point, I really have no words. It's just really shocking to me that we're really seeing how the government values different people in different sectors, and maybe they don't value us at all and they're just picking and choosing. But it's just, all of it's very jarring, all of it's very alarming, all of it's quite frankly disturbing. So it's going to be interesting to see. This is like a movie that I never chose to watch, but we're living it, so we're going to see how this goes. I don't know. I'm going to see if I can still go on my walks in the neighborhood without getting a fine. I mean, that should be fine, right? I don't know. But, you know, you just got to stay strong. I think at the end of the day, I think it's very important that no matter what happens in the next couple of days, weeks, and years, because I honestly think it's going to be another 2 years of this, that you commit to yourself. Use this time to commit and pivot and just progress yourself, so that when this is all said and done, you don't feel like this is wasted time or your life was frozen, and now that you've been able to defrost and cook up a few things with what's been dropped, that you're dealing with, you know, we need to pull it together. It's going to be so interesting to see how people vote during the next election, because this is all politics at the end of the day. I'm going to vote Bloc Québécois. I can't vote Bloc Québécois. Wow. It's just so crazy. I never thought I would see this in my lifetime. But then again, what do you think we came here for, right? There's always going to be conflict. There's always going to be contrast. There's always going to be something that's going to cause us to question what we thought we knew. Like I said, the more I think I know, the less I realize I really know. Or the more I think I know, the less I really know. Just buckle up, stay strong. As I say at the end of every single video, stay blessed, stay sane, stay safe. Until next time, love and later.